earlier today, and I had to kind of take a double take that major University of California donors in a standoff with the school over Berkeley's football team. Now, we have discussed whether or not how much interest there is. There's a history in Cal. They've had some really, really good players go on to play in the NFL, but they want to at least, or appear to, they want to hold back their NIL money almost as hostage, it appears, based on this story by Gabe Fernandez, so that they get Ron Rivera, who runs their program, moving forward.
Yeah, he's already there, correct? I mean,
Yep.
he's already the GM, but they want him to have more sweeping power and influence. This is pretty interesting. I'm sure this happens behind closed doors sometimes. The only thing I can compare it to in my memory is when North Texas was building their new stadium and Daryl Dickey was kind of on the outs. The guy who was paying for the new stadium was a big Daryl Dickey fan and kind of made some demands on that regard. I'm not completely clear on the history. A North Texas person would have to fill in the blanks for me, but it was they were not happy about the way he was being treated, this particular donor. But if this is a whole collective saying hey, you don't get any football money until Ron Rivera's in charge, I'm not sure that's the best way to handle things. And not to say that Ron Rivera wouldn't do a great job at that, but still, that's just kind of a bizarre way to do it. But maybe Cal's athletic department needs an extreme circumstance to push them into this.
I mean, the first thing I thought is you want to flex your power and risk the whole booster-university relationship over Ron Rivera. This is the guy that you're like, we're not giving you any more money unless the great Ron Rivera gets to make all our football decisions. Can you at least lay your life down for, Bill Belichick I would get. You at least flash some rings and you go, North Carolina, you'd say, okay, yeah, you want Bill Belichick in charge. Ron Rivera? I don't know. I think that's the funny part to me when I read that headline was that's what all the fuss is about, but I think it's a dangerous precedent. But if anybody were to do that, it would be Cal, I feel like. I mean, just as far as universities go, I feel like the one that perhaps there's others out there that would fit that bill, but the one that would be most likely to perhaps cave a little to booster demands, more so than a Tennessee would or a Georgia would be probably somebody like Cal. And even then, they might not do it. I don't know. I don't know how big of a story this really is. It's interesting because it's definitely something unique. But, again, I couldn't get past the Ron Rivera part. Well, and then the fact that if you think this is a good idea, I mean, look, when we've seen high-profile firings that are controversial or, things happen that people don't agree with and they pull their booster money or whatever. But I don't think that we've seen it too often where they go, you do this or else. And I think if there's a band of people that are doing that, that is really dangerous news for Cal athletics because you're losing one way or the other. You're either giving up your money or you're losing, you're giving up control or you're losing some money. So it's a weird spot that they're in. Maybe there's a middle ground they can meet on. I do understand the frustration of boosters, though. I don't want to put it all on.
To be your best requires commitment, dedication, and intensity. It's what defines elite athletes and inspires Airwaav to find new ways to optimize your performance. Introducing Airwaav Recovery, a mouthpiece designed to work while you sleep to further unlock your potential. Airwaav Recovery features our patented reflex technology, small, integrated bumps uniquely positioned to activate your tongue's natural response. Your tongue will instinctively move forward, opening your airway and improving your quality of sleep. And thanks to our patented fitting material and a purpose-designed support wall, you'll enjoy a secure, comfortable fit all night long. With Airwaav Recovery, you sleep better and recharge faster. Airwaav Recovery, recharge your potential.
Them as being the bad guy here. I don't think there's a bad guy, but I do think the way it's at least headlined and phrased, it makes it look like they're a little bit crazy, right? Which is probably not the case. They're probably just wanting what's best for, they feel, the football program and to have some other people have some say. So, it's an interesting headline, but Yeah, a bit of a predicament there for the Cal
Ron
AD.
Rivera's a legend there. He is. He's in the Athletics Hall of Fame, won a Super Bowl with the Bears, was multi-awarded as a player at Cal. And again, it's not the name that comes off the tip of your tongue when you think about college great players, whatever.
You have to understand that Cal's looking at it as this is their great player. I'm looking at this is the guy I watched coach the Commanders for years.
Well,
this is the guy who I watched in the NFL most recently for the last several years. I've not been watching him in college football. I wasn't old enough to watch him at Cal.
Well, that's why I wanted to clarify that.
So I get that there's a connection there, but I don't know what they want him to be their Andrew Luck. That's the whole point of it, and I get that. That's what it is.
For the first time since 2011, there's a growing anxiety among Cal fans about the future of their program that stems directly from what Andrew Luck is doing at Stanford.
There you go.
Ding, ding, ding. There you go. Andrew Luck's been there for a cup of coffee. He's made a change.
That which makes it seem like a panic move. What Andrew Luck's doing at Stanford right now is trying to rebuild the entire situation. Like the fact that he's there isn't. I think Andrew Luck will do a really good job at this. I think that he's built for it. I think that he'll be probably an NFL GM someday. I mean, he's a brilliant dude. He comes from a line of really smart business people. His dad is a really accomplished post-football businessman all over the sports world and beyond. So I'm not saying that, but to react like this while they have an interim coach, to me, is a little bit that's a little bit rash.
All right. The drastic move comes as a rather interesting time in the program's history. The Bears, Golden Bears, have been better in football than the Cardinal in every conceivable way. The 4-year Cal graduates at spring commencement will be the first class since 2006 to experience a total sweep over Stanford in the big game. And then on top of that, they did bring in Rivera in March. John Wilner will join us today, like in the late 4 o'clock hour, to give us we kind of pick his brain when it comes to that West Coast to give us a little bit more insight.
So Cal's had more success recently is what you're saying, so they want to follow the path of the program that's had less success?
No.
So that part doesn't make any sense.
I think from what I gather, and this is a lengthy story by Gabe Fernandez, is that they're a little bit worried that they're going to lose their edge they have now against Stanford, and maybe because Andrew Luck's a big name or whatever. I didn't know, and this is not to be flippant, that Cal was that entrenched in worrying about all that. I mean, Cal's an incredible school. You can look at how they look at things politically, but he's in the Athletics Hall of Fame, so that's it. I don't know if he's going to make the difference or not. You're right, Craig. The last time most people think about him, he took Carolina to a Super Bowl, I think. It was a hell of a player, but that was 85 Bears, where he was a part of a Super Bowl championship team.
Yeah, because the kids today relate really well to the 85 Bears. I mean, that's all I hear from 20-years-olds is like, the 85 Bears, man, they were sick.
Well,
they were awesome.
They knew Doug Plank.
Man, you see all the kids
deep cut.
All the kids doing the Super Bowl shuffle, when they score these days. I mean, it's all over the place. The 85 Bears. No, I mean, I'm not trying to be flippant either. It's just like some of the things in there. You're like, why are you following the path of the team that you're beating regularly and you're better than? Like that doesn't make sense. It sounds like a little bit of like, ooh, they've got a star running football. We want a star of our own running football, and that's probably going to be the case in a lot of places around the country. So, kudos to Cal's boosters for trying to, shake and bake and make something happen and kind of throw their weight around. I do think that boosters deserve, when it's their money especially, to, have some say in the way things go. I just think when you've already got a football coach that's sitting there and all of a sudden you go like, hey, we want this guy to come in and take all of your control and you now answer to him, that's just kind of a weird thing to do. When the example that you're comparing it to is, as Paul pointed out, a guy who came in, fired the football coach, and they're now searching and have an interim for the next year. So, yeah, if I was on the coaching staff at Cal, I'd be like, I don't know, that's Justin Wilcox. I'd be like, it's a little strange, but okay. I guess if that's what you guys want. And look, if they're the money makers and the money shakers, then there will probably some middle ground that they can find. But, yeah, just to read kind of out of the blue, at least in this part of the country, that there's this, situation where we're stopping the money flow until Ron Rivera gets all the power. I get that he's a legend. It's just kind of a bizarre read if you're not in that circle in Berkeley, I guess.
Yeah, it's just look, we live in a state. We've talked about A&M, and we're about to talk about them again in a second for the last week about their like little brother syndrome. If this isn't like little brother syndrome from Cal, where a school that's not been as successful than you has had it really tough from leadership. Like, they don't have an AD right now, right? That's why Andrew Luck had to make the decision.
I just said they don't have an AD. They don't have a head football coach.
They don't have a permanent head football coach. They just had to change the president, not because somebody retired. Well, I mean, you can't get a better job than Stanford. So not because that guy retired. He got fired because of plagiarism. So now you have all this like stuff you've never had to deal with at Stanford going on, and Cal is somehow envious. I can't wait to hear from John Wilner on this.
Yep.
And look, Ron Rivera might do great, and I would honestly rather have this whole thing of my favorite famous alum is the GM than the head football coach. I saw for years, every time Baylor had a head coaching opening, there was just a group of people that wanted Mike Singletary.
Yep.
And Mike Singletary is not, he's not a pro coach right now. He's not a college coach. He doesn't want to go and recruit. And that's why he never really tried all that hard to get the job. We even asked him about it. He's like, yeah, I talked about it, but you could even hear in his voice. Mike Singletary is a very straight up and down, honest guy. And he was like, it interested me a little bit, but it was never like, oh, I have to have this job and I was disappointed for it. Like, he would, if he really wanted it, he could have gotten it. Yeah. And he didn't really. So
yeah, and I think there is some like devil in the details as well. I mean, part of the frustration was that you've got Rivera, who you've hired, and he's talking to your chancellor, and you've got your football coach who's talking to your AD. And so how does that make any sense? So I guess the thought, because like the way it's positioned, at least like a headline wise, is, these rogue boosters want to give Ron Rivera all this power. Well, what if they just want him to actually like work with the football coach directly and report to the AD, as opposed to why is he talking to the chancellor? Now, that's where I can see where they have an issue with it, and that's part of the story. So, you got to delve into it a little bit, but yeah, like on the surface, it looks strange to want all that power to be shifted to Ron Rivera. But if you understand, well, what's the connect? Like, why is he reporting here and this guy's reporting here? And then, like, these two they're not even in the same job.
Ron Rivera's been a coach, right? Why would he accept that role straight to the chancellor? He would, that seemed like that's something, but he's doing that. You're right. That was his role. I never did think that made sense anyway. As the GM of football, he's reporting to the chancellor and not to the athletic director.
Yeah, I don't know about all the minutia of that part of it. I mean, I'm not locked in on Cal football, but yeah, I mean, obviously there are people unhappy with that.
Doesn't matter what program, though. It doesn't matter.
There might be some unique situations going on that we're not aware of, kind of like I just pointed out the chancellor part of it. So, like, we don't know. We're not in Berkeley and know all these people involved and what could be going on politically. So that's what I'm saying is I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on the nuances of Cal politics is what I'm saying. So there's probably something we're just missing out on, being the other part of the country and not following them on a day-to-day basis, that John Wilner can probably fill us in on. But yeah, headline-wise, it's a bit bizarre, and Ron Rivera is not a name that I think I'd say do or die over. But if I was a Cal alum who really grew up watching Ron Rivera and loved him and just ignored all the NFL stuff for the most part as of late, when he really ran out of gas and was replaced, and then you see what Washington went and did like immediately after. He's not just the most exciting name for someone like me. Now, for Cal fans, he might be a super exciting name. I can at least understand you want a little bit of cohesion, and Ron Rivera and Justin Wilcox need to be working together to make the Cal football program the best that it can be, not one guy's reporting here, one guy's reporting there.
Right. No, that's absolutely